The Art of War. By Sun Tzu. The core of warfare is about applying deception. Therefore, when you are actually capable, feign you are incapable. When you are active, appear to others that you are inactive. When you are nearby, make people think you are far away. When you are far away, let your enemy believe you are in proximity. If your enemy is easily tempted, hold out the baits. If his army is in disorder, crush them. If he is secure and concentrated, get prepared for him. If he is in strength, avoiding fighting with him. If the enemy general is of choleric temperament, irritate him. Appearing to be inferior to grow your enemy's arrogance. If he is at ease, force him under a strain. If they stand in unity, divide and separate them. Attack your enemy where he is unprepared, appear where you are not expected. One who has not thoroughly known all the evils of war, then one can't thoroughly understand the advantage of doing so. Though we have heard of stupid haste in war, clever deployment has never been seen associated with prolonged operation. Therefore, no country could have benefited from protracted warfare. In warfare, then, let your objective be solely victory, not chronic campaigns. To fight and win in 100 battles, is not the most excellent art of war. Victory over the enemy without a fight, is thus the supreme excellency. The best scheme is to halt the enemy in its planning state. The second best is to prevent the joining forces of the enemies. The next best is to attack their army in the field, and the least preferred scheme is to attack enemies' walled cities. The skillful leader subdues the enemy's troops without any battle, captures cities without any fighting, overthrows the state without prolonged operations. With fully reserved intact forces, he will conquer the whole empire without troops being worn out and gain every interest. This is the method of attacking by stratagem. The art of deploying troops is this: if our forces are 10 to the enemy's 1, surround them to make them yield. If 5 times to them, launch our attack proactively. If twice to them, divide our army into 2 forces to fight them. If are equally matched in number, we can engage the battle. If slightly inferior in numbers, we can hold defensive position. If in all respects inferior than the enemy, we can avoid a fight by eluding. Thus we may know that there are 5 circumstances that victory can be predicted. 1. One will win if one knows when to fight and when not to fight. 2. One will win if one knows how to use both large and small forces. 3. One will win if the whole army is united with the same purpose. 4. One will win if one get prepared and waits to confront the unprepared enemy. 5. One will win if one has military capability and is not interfered by the sovereign. These 5 are circumstances in which we then know who will win. If you fully understand your enemy and yourself, you will not be defeated even fighting for 100 battles. If you understand not your enemy but only yourself, your chance of winning and losing will be 50-50. If you understand neither your enemy nor yourself, you will surely lose in every battle. The ancient skillful fighters will prepare themselves to avoid the possibility of being defeated, then waited for the opportunity. Once enemy's vulnerability is shown, to defeat them. To secure ourselves against being defeated lies in our own hands, but the chance of winning over the enemy is on the enemy's side. Thus the skillful fighter can secure oneself against possible defeat, but cannot make certain of defeating the enemy. Hence the saying, one may know how to win but may not necessarily be able to do it. The skillful defender conceal in the most secret recesses unseen, Skillful attacker flashes attack from the topmost heights. Thus one can securely protect themselves as well as gain complete victory. To triumph in the war and be seen and acclaimed by everyone is not really a supremely excellent fighter. So likewise, lifting a tiny hair requires no great strength. Be able to see the sun and moon does not need sharp sight. Noticing the noise of thunder is no sign of a strong acute hearing. The ancient master of war is the one who not only wins, but excels in winning with ease. Hence the victories bring him neither reputation for wisdom, nor merit for courage. He wins the battles flawlessly. Making no mistakes is what establishes the certainty of victory, for it means conquering an enemy that has already been defeated. Thus the skillful fighter gets himself into a position being unable to be defeated, and never will he miss the chance of defeating the enemy. Therefore, the victorious strategist only seeks to battle after the victory has been ensured, whereas the defeaters are those who start the battle first, and then look for the chance of winning. In battle, use the typical method to engage, but we need the atypical method to win. There are only two methods of attack, the typical and the atypical, yet, by combining them gives rise to infinite tactics. The typical and the atypical mutually produce each other. It is like moving around a circle whereas you can't find the beginning and the end. Who can exhaust the possibilities of their various combinations? The skillful fighter seeks for the favorable situation, and does not require too much from individual subordinates. Hence he is able to pick out the right man and exploit favorable situation for the battle. Whoever is first in the battlefield and awaits the approaching enemy is at ease and ready to fight. Whoever arrives the battlefield later and rush to fight is exhausted. Therefore the skillful fighter imposes his plan on the enemy, but will not allow the enemy's plan to be imposed upon him. The best tactical dispositions is to have no solid and ascertained formation. As the dispositions is formless, and you will be safe from the prying of the spies, as well as from the estimation of the wisest brains. Basing on the enemy's formation and tactics I lay the victory plan. The people can see winning tactics but cannot comprehend it. All men can see the tactics whereby I conquer over the enemy, but none can see the strategy and mechanism of the victory tactics. As the same tactic may not yield the same victory, but you can respond to various circumstances by applying the tactics accordingly. Military strategy is like water in which water runs away from high ground to hasten downwards. So in war, the army should avoid what is strong and to strike at weak point. Water shapes its course according to the ground when flowing. The army get the victory according to the enemy's plan. Therefore, just as water retains no constant shape, so in warfare there are no constant conditions. One modifies the tactics in relation to the opponent and thereby succeed in winning may be the master of war. So war is based on applying deception to win. Move the troops if it is advantageous and dispel or gather to create changes in formation. Thus, army should move as swift as wind, be calm and still as forest, be raiding and plundering as fire, be steadfast like mountain, be unfathomable to enemy like darkness, be acting like thunderbolt. Hence in the wise general's plans will consist of both the considerations of favorable and unfavorable conditions. By evaluating the favorable conditions, one can ensure the plan is feasible. By evaluating the unfavorable conditions, one can find way to extricate the difficulties. Thus, The doctrine of war tells us, not to presume and count on that enemy is not coming to you, but to trust on your readiness for their arrival, not to presume and count on that enemy is not launching attack, but to trust on making yourself invincible. Numerous troop alone does not matter in war, so don't rely solely on the heavy military force. Just concentrating your force, estimating the enemy's situation and ensuring your uniformity, it is then amply sufficient. Regard your soldiers as your children, and they will follow you into the deepest valleys. Treat them as your own beloved sons, and they will stand by you even unto death. You're being indulgent to them but unable to employ them, being benevolent to them but unable to enforce commands upon them. Troop is in disorder but unable to be reinstated, then the soldiers must be seen as spoilt children, and are useless for any purpose. Knowing your enemy and yourself, you will not be defeated. Knowing further the weather and terrain, your victory can be ensured. The skillful commander is like the legendary snake in mountain. Strike at its head and you will be attacked by its tail. Strike at its tail, and you will be attacked by its head. Strike at its middle part, and you will be attacked by both the head and tail. Ask yourself if you can train the army to imitate the legendary mountain snake. Throw your army in perilous situation, and it will survive. Plunge it into deadly ground, and it will live. For when the troop has fallen into grave danger, it is capable of striking for the victory. Cunningly witty military operation lies in pretending your accommodation to the enemy's designed plan, and then concentrate all the forces against the enemy. Eventually we shall succeed in killing their commander even in distance. Therefore, initially exhibit the coyness like a maiden until the enemy gives you an opening, then emulate the swiftness of a running hare, and the enemy will be too late to withstand you. Unless there is an advantage or do not take action, unless there is gain or do not deploy your troop, unless there is danger or do not engage. The sovereign should not deploy the troops into the field merely out of anger. The general should not fight a battle simply out of pique. Take the action if it is to your advantage. Stay still if there is none advantage. Anger can change to gladness. Vexation can become pleasure. However, a kingdom lost can never be restored, nor the dead can be brought back to life.